we're up to.
I didn't know we were up to 9:30 today.
Oh, first of all.
And nobody corrected my email. Whatever I do.
You right?
Schedule on the internet.
Huh?
Is the Darwin schedule on the internet? No.
On the what?
Was it posted on the chat?
You know,
Yeah.
on the world.
Probably in the chat it was posted.
Yeah, but usually when I send out something with a mistake, I get 6 emails.
You sent it out Erev Yontif, you know.
I sent it out in the morning.
Right.
Yeah, but sending out in the morning of Yom Kippur is like sending it right before Shabbos on a regular week.
Hey, you know what? Daryl, this job is yours effective after some
How many more minutes is this particular thing gonna go?
Well, how do we have to talk? I think after Sukkot, I have to go through the numbers. It might be, it's either 499 or 500.
Okay.
So yeah.
What happens then?
I retire.
No, man.
I thought you were retired already.
Not from this job.
Every morning I wake up.
Not from this
and
job.
I retire. Every morning I wake up.
You get tired, you know?
I think we'll let you retire at 1,000.
One day
Not
we're
from
all
this
going to be
job.
this age. Let's be kind of hard. Okay. So we're on the air.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Can't hit the ghost.
Baruch, I have to make
Since I had a little nose
You
surface.
should know.
You can't do that.
You put this chair on a higher standard. Huh? Yes.
I'm late.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. The day after Yom Kippur, as some people said, you know, you could feel bruises all over, tired, your feet don't hold you up. Some people are busy with building sukkahs, but maybe the rain helped us out. We can wait a little bit. But I'd like to thank everybody for coming. And the Medrash says the reason why there's no other series of Yom Tovim that come one after the other, like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and then Sukkot. And my voice is also recovering from yesterday, but in different parts, maybe the air conditioning. But the Medrash says one of the reasons why we have Sukkot right after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is to give us no time to basically do Averos. We're so busy doing mitzvahs. You know, you have to get your sukkah up, you have to buy a dal minim. There's so much doing over these next few days before the Yontif that who has time to do anything wrong? And
This is a challenge.
so,
You'll find time.
Lamaisa, we appreciate everyone coming to share. It's wonderful. Extra Talmidim. It's great. Now, the topic I picked today is the P'tur Mitztaer B'Sukkah. The subtitle was From Bugs to Rain. From rain to bugs, whichever you prefer. And I was thinking about it, it hit me. I'm not sure, I dare you to find the place. Find the place in the world where it's the best weather, best situation to observe the Yom Tov Sukkot every year. Right? Not simple. Not simple.
Yerushalayim.
Right? Okay. You go East Coast.
Yeah, they already have their sukkahs.
You go up north to New York. It's fall weather. Yeah, you never know what could happen on Sukkot. Especially Sukkot is a little bit later. You come down here to Florida. We all know it could be a heat wave. You could be schmaltzing in a sukkah.
Hurricane.
My father-in-law remembers, he grew up in Montreal. There were sukkahs that was snowing. Snowing in Montreal. Right? Europe was freezing back in the day in sukkahs. So the West Coast, LA, San Diego,
That would be good.
I'm sure there are bugs there too.
Those earthquakes.
There's lots of stuff on the streets. I'm sure there's bugs everywhere. So, Yerushalayim, yeah, look, we can't say anything about Yerushalayim. We can't say anything about Eretz Yisrael. I'm sure Eretz Yisrael is actually probably the best place to be always, especially Sukkot, sure. But Lamaisa, it's still not perfect, as we all know. Unfortunately, no, we're living in Gullus. And there is no perfect place, Kozman, we're in Gullus, for Sukkot. And one of the things we have to deal with are the ailments, are things that could cause problems and cause potentially a tour of Mitztaer. And today's share, we want to analyze and understand better that tour of Mitztaer. How do we understand it? What's the basis of it? Different types of Mitztaer. But I'll pose a few questions even to begin the share. So you all know the basic idea about rain. Now I'm going to go through the specifics. But, we say it's potter because of rain. How much rain? Let's say the weatherman says it's going to rain. Am I potter from Sukkah based on that? Do I need to see the clouds over in the sky? And if I see the clouds in the sky, that's enough to potter me? How do we do things? I know I want to sleep in the sukkah, but you know what? The weatherman says it's going to rain in the middle of the night. So I can sleep in the house? Are these things based on age? Are they based on health? How these things work? Okay, we can talk about shalom bias. Always a good topic to talk about. Is a Torah Mitztaer something which has to be universal? Could it be objective? Does it have to be objective? Could it be subjective? Could it be psychological? I remember I had a cousin who was allergic to bee stings. But besides being allergic to bee stings, he was petrified of bees. The moment a bee came into the sukkah, he wanted to run out. Is that a reason to run out? Yes. How do things work? There are so many things that unsettle us. The question is, what's the line? We know there's a general concept, there's a Torah, there's an exemption for someone in pain. What constitutes pain? Obviously, everyone has different thresholds. So today's year, we want to try to hit the full gamut of situations where it's uncomfortable to be in the sukkah, and at what point is a person exempt, when is a person still responsible to do it, and other stuff related with that. Now, the first thing, let's go over, we shouldn't need it this year, but let's go over the halachas of, let's say it rains the first night of Sukkot. Okay? You come home from shul. You spent so much time, right, building a sukkah, everything looked beautiful. You're about to go in and starts pouring. Definitely could happen here in South Florida on a dime, right? It could change from a sunny day to a rainy day, right? Happens. So what do? So the basic halacha is, on the first night, there might, it's a machlokas poskim, if there is a chiyuv to sit in the sukkah even when it's raining. The rest of sukkahs, okay, obviously here in Gullus, second night has a din similar to the first night, but the rest of sukkahs, the first day of sukkahs, the third night, fifth night. Last year we talked about the mitzvah chiyuv to eat in the sukkah on Shmini Atzeres, whole topic. But now Shmini Atzeres happens to have different halachas than the rest of sukkahs, so more lenient. But any other night, if it's raining, you eat in the house. When the first night of Sukkot, if it's raining, we still hold that you should go and eat in the sukkah. Now, at the same time, we want to do the mitzvah in the best way. So if it's raining the first night, so then we wait to try to do everything in the best possible way inside the sukkah. So that's the idea. Some people wait even as much as wait until chatzos, but others wait, let's say an hour, especially if you have guests, younger children, hour or two. People wait to see if it stops raining. If it does not stop raining, here's the procedure. Just going to run through this and we'll go through all the rest of the halachas. Is you go into the sukkah in the rain without an umbrella for multiple reasons. You go into the sukkah, you quickly make your kiddush with shechianu, but you do not make a bracha of leishiv sukkah. Since it's raining, there's a machlok. Suppose if you should be doing that, you can't make a bracha of leishiv sukkah, but you could make a bracha of shechianu, right? I'm saying it right? Because the Mitztaer it's Yom Tov, goes in the sukkah, and you eat the kazayas, you wash and eat the kazayas of challah, then you eat the rest in the house. Simple. One little caveat: there is a tzad in halacha if it stops raining later in the night to go eat it again in the sukkah. This way, you could be yotzei other days. That, I'm just talking about the first day.
If you
Yes.
do that, you make a lay shave.
When?
If you go the second time
If it's,
later,
yeah, for sure.
but
It's
do
like
you
any other
make a
day.
shachianu on that or no?
Shachianu will make once.
But if you're washing, should you be saying way shape of sukkah?
Yeah, for sure. If you, the second time around, it stops raining, the first time when you wash, being the fact it's raining and there's still this machlokas poskim, if you eat in the sukkah when it's raining,
You're almost treating
we
it
have
like,
to be machmir to eat in the sukkah when it's raining. But there is a position in halacha that you don't.
You're almost treating it like.
So therefore, since it's a question, if you do it, so anytime there's a question in brachos, right, we don't make a bracha. In that sense, yeah.
You make the way shape on the second time.
But the second time where it stopped raining, I mean in sukkah, like every time I eat in the sukkah, it's not raining, I'm eating something of solid mazonos or washing for sure, you make a leishiv. Yes.
Is there a point where it rains hard enough that it's not even a machlokas? Everyone says you don't go in there. Meaning if it's
Yeah, same
anything that's
machlokas.
not unsafe,
Correct.
there's a machlokas.
Yeah, that's safe.
If it's
not gonna melt.
If it's not unsafe, then
Yeah.
you
Cut close to cut off.
Yes. That's what they bring.
When you make kiddush, you have your challahs out in the sukkah.
You want to do everything chick-chock. So yeah, it's always good. Kiddush b'makom suda. Yeah, to have.
Isn't this
You
a?
are-
But you have in mind, when you make your kiddush, make your amotzi, that I'm going to eat the rest inside.
Isn't this a scenario where you should switch to washing beforehand and making the?
You want to get complicated.
No, I mean we're.
If you made your kiddush, I like to give you this one. If you made your kiddush on challah, you can do both.
Fine.
Mhm.
So
which ones?
so should that not be the case here?
Nah, I mean it depends how you're gonna melt. You do the wrong way.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
We actually had a situation 35 years ago.
Yeah.
First night took us. We went to somebody's house. This was a Rebbe in school.
Yes.
We were in, and it was raining. We ended up waiting until about 10-15 minutes before Chatzos, and yet he said he posited we were going to wash, go outside, make kiddush, motzi, lay shave, and come back in. And
So
have in mind-
Mishabura goes against the leishiv.
I don't remember 100% about the lay shave, but
Okay.
I know we washed and then made kiddush motzi.
Yes.
If it's pouring rain,
Yes.
can you have your becha for kiddush with a cover on top of it while you make kiddush, and then just take it off the
So I've
drink,
heard
or
of this
does it have
shtick.
to be
Yeah.
open?
As long as you're sitting under the sukkah, your food doesn't have to be sitting under the schach of the sukkah. So that actually is a smart idea. You want to put your kiddush cup in a
Poster on top.
in a box covering it. You can do it for your challah too. Just take it out. You don't, you shouldn't be in the box. But as long as you just put your food in the box, it's a very smart idea.
If you're in the box, you might
Now-
as well be in the house.
Not thinking out of the box.
It's sticking in the box. Now,
I feel boxed in by this conversation.
now,
Damn, can't put you in the box.
Now that we went through the basic halacha, the first night of rain, I want to go through what is this Torah Mitztaer. So aside from the first night, which we do repeat, wash, rinse, repeat, the second night, if it's raining, we also wait, but we wait less the second night than the first night. But aside from that, the rest of the yontif, if it's raining, you're patur from sukkah. What's the reason if it's raining, you're patur from sukkah? So the idea is, there's a concept called Mitztaer is patur from sukkah. The Tosfos says it's based on an idea of ke'ein tediru. Ke'ein tediru says that you're supposed to treat your sukkah like you treat your house, how you deal with your house the rest of the year. And since I wouldn't stay in my house if chas v'sholom my is leaking, my roof is leaking, I wouldn't stay in my house in such a scenario. So Mamela, so too over here, I don't have to stay in a sukkah if it's raining. Okay, that's the basic idea. Mitztaer is a din ke'ein tediru. It's just like you do in your house. Now, if you look on the Shulchan Aruch, everyone have the sheets over here. Shulchan Aruch is Siman Taf Reish Mem. Says like this: Ezel Mitztaer. What's considered Mitztaer? Zeh she'enu yachol lishon. Mishnah Berurah adds, it applies to eating too. Ol ochel b'sukkah mimnei arach, because of a smell, or mimnei zvuvim, or because of flies, or prushim, or other insects. Kiyotze behem. Or mimnei hareach. Sorry, hareach is probably the wind. Here the reach is smell. Basically, anything you have a bad stench in your sukkah, all these different things would exempt a person from sitting in the sukkah. Now, Shulchan Aruch also talks later, a person shouldn't make his sukkah like that. But if a person l'chachila shouldn't make his sukkah in a place where he's going to have a problem. But if his sukkah was in a good, healthy, kosher place, it just happened to be a swarm of bees showed up in the sukkah and he can't sit there. It has a bad smell. His neighbor is taking care of their septic tank, right, in the middle of your meal. So you can't sit there. You have tinus in the guy. But what can he do? You can't make a bracha. You can't make a leisha with such a scenario.
Yeah, but the dinner came to the dinner came to do. The dinner came to do is that any conditions I want to live normally in my house, and I have a tour in the sukkah. But as Lamaisa, I had this thing in my house, like I wouldn't just not be in my house. Is that okay? I have a leak in my house, but I have a leak in my house and I stay. Like I'm not gonna leave. It was in my house. So what's this per tour?
You wouldn't stay under the leaf.
No, you're right. You'd move out.
So I move my.
Right.
So I should stay in.
Ellie, you're not married yet. Here's where the shalom bias comes in. If it's raining, your wife is going to make you leave. That's it.
I'm not leaving my house. So this is a bad smell in the sukkah.
Ellie, your wife is going to tell you, you could stay in the leak. I'm going to the hotel.
Let's say there's a bad smell. If there's a bad smell in the house.
Huh?
We were going to the hotel.
Right.
I'm not leaving the house.
The sukkah, you don't have another room to it. So you're right.
There's another factor,
Yes.
which is that if the smell is from the wrong thing, you might not be allowed to do a bracha either.
Right. That's true.
So it's different than other.
Yes.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Going to
Going to the neighbor's house of his pets.
You are going to leave and go to
If what?
Just like deal with it, like, whatever.
There's no.
You're gonna bring your whole
It's not very
Yes.
bad.
It's only by comments. The smell is not a problem. You can smell tarfus.
Ask your boss.
Now hold on. Shh. I have to point out.
You just can't be
an important
puzzled
thing.
by the bar.
What about during Shemona Esrei, when you have a bad smell, you have to wait till it passes? So when you see anything with sukkah, you wouldn't just go inside and eat. You have to wait till it passes.
Again, if it's a passing smell, but here we're talking about all these, right? All these things. Well, it depends. Depends how long it takes, and depends how long your meal is.
That's it.
But a good point. If right now, look, my schedule is I need to eat now. I'm going out later. So Mamela, in that type of situation, if my sukkah is unusable, you are allowed to eat in your house. Now, let me spell out. The Mishnah Berurah talks about, when we expand on this in a moment. Let's say a guy says, you know what, I'm going to eat in the sukkah when it's raining. So Mishnah Berurah brings Mara, you're called a hedjot, which is not an
idiot.
I couldn't have said it any better. It's not a praise. It doesn't just mean you're a layman, you're a simple person, right? It means you're too simple, or the vernacular. And Mamela, you can't do that. Now, I want to show you, this is all the basic ideas, okay? If there's a big situation, big bother, obviously, Zevi, you're right. If there's a situation where I could wait and it's going to pass, then yeah, it's better to be able to do the mitzvah and make a leishav and do the mitzvah of eating a sukkah than not. But me'ikar adin, if you have to eat now and there's something inaccessible with your sukkah, there's a real problem. Halacha would be that you would be allowed to eat in the house at that time. Now, I want to show you a very interesting idea from the Ramah. This is the next part on your sheet in Aleph. Misha kavalo aniras b'sukkah b'Shabbos or Yom Tov. If the lights go out in your sukkah, v'yesh lo ner b'beiso, but in your house you have light. The halacha is mutter lases min sukkah k'dei lechel b'makom ner. You're allowed to leave your sukkah to eat in the light. It's people like eating and seeing their food.
I don't.
Right? Memela, it depends what your mother serves you.
Your mother,
But Lamaisa, there is it is considered tsar if you're not able to sit in a nice place and see your food. Now the Ramah points out the ain't sarach leilech l'sukkahs chavero. You don't have to go to your friend's sukkah. Sheyisham ner im yesh lo torach gadol b'davar. If you have a big pain involved in it. Now look at the Chavetz Chaim in the Mishnah Berurah. He says, look, there's another option. I have a good neighbor, not State Farm, your next door neighbor, right? I have a good neighbor that has lights on. So why don't I just go to my neighbor? And his family already finished their sukkah. Finished eating. They were almost finished eating. Be careful what I say. I might kill the halacha. But it says, people like eating in their house. Now, I'm not sure we could debate this topic. Here, the Chavetz Chaim is introducing us to what I call a psychological tsar. Nothing physical here. This is mental. Person doesn't like eating in someone else's house. Now, is that because you feel uncomfortable? Look, I want to have a meal with my family. I wasn't ready for, guests and to eat or be a guest by someone else's meal. Is it the company that's bothering him? The Lashon, the simple reading of the Mishnah Berurah, the Lashon is mashma. No, look, I built my sukkah in a nice, comfortable way. This is the way I like it, okay? I like long tables. And this guy has, round tables, square tables. It could be something I would dare say you're finicky about it. But that's part of the mentality of a person. That's what I think the lush of the Mishnah Berurah is mashma. A person likes his thing. I designed my sukkah to be my way. So I want to go to my neighbor's sukkah. That itself would be enough to exempt you from sukkah. Now this already is a breakthrough. It means there's nothing physical, there's no bugs, there's no smell, no one else can see it. So I'm going to end up eating in my house over eating in my friend's sukkah. And it's all because of something in my head, not something in the sukkah. But yet we see the Ramah, Chafetz Chaim explains it in the Mishnah Berurah, that you potter.
I mean, the Ramah does say Torah Gadol.
But that's the next step. Hold on.
So we're
Yes.
Putting your neighbor out, buddy. You're making it too crowded for the neighbor. You're
Right,
allowed to
right.
be in the sukkah, but you feel like I don't want to.
Right.
Okay,
I think all of these mentalities, whether it's you don't want to talk to your neighbor, whether you feel uncomfortable imposing on them, very good, or even what I'm saying, even you're just not comfortable in his sukkah,
I'm sorry. So it's pouring.
all of that works.
So it's pouring.
No, not a
saying,
rain.
No, I'm saying. So it's pouring. We're hypothetically all putter according to one opinion, but we're going outside and we're making brachos sans leishev, all of us, versus my sukkah has a problem. His sukkah is good.
You're going back to the
and
first
I'm
night?
going back in the house.
You're going back to the first night.
I'm
So
making a comparison.
No, 1
here.
second. I want to just correct
We're
that
I'm
point.
saying we're hypothetically all
In the
putter.
first night, there's no Patur. Remember we said that.
I hear, but what I'm
So
saying,
that's not really relevant the first
I
night.
get it, but again, there was hypothetically a patur because it was a machlokes, but we're going,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
we're going on the strict ruling. However, we're not making a leishev. Whereas here, I have a sukkah right next door that works. There's 1,000 of them. Mine is not good, and I'm going in the house.
Correct. Because you know what? Going to your friend's sukkah is also mitzar. That's the same thing as a smell. Somewhat.
A practical situation, which you'd see down here, but elsewhere too, there are people who come up with some method of covering the sukkah when it's raining, and a way of bringing back without causing the ohel and all that. So you don't have that, and your neighbor has it, and it pours, and your sukkah is soaking wet. You still can't sit in it because of the drip.
One of the
But
halachas.
next door,
Right.
and he
That's an
opens the
important
top,
thing.
and it's good.
You don't need to. I'll get to that in a
But
second.
is there a chiv?
I'll get to that in a second. No, there's no chiyuv.
No, but is there still a chiv?
Listen,
if you want it.
I'll explain in a second. But you brought up, it doesn't have to actually be raining in the sukkah to be exempt. Even if it's dripping in your sukkah after the rain, that's also exempt. But we're going to see in a second, I'm going to qualify this psychological din and how far it goes. But you already see from this Mishnah Berurah, from this halacha of the Ramah, that mitzar doesn't just mean a physical or some type of pain which you could put a finger on, you could describe. Even something in your head is included in mitzar. Now let's read the Mishnah Berurah on Chav Gimel. A couple people brought this point up. Im yish tarich gadol. We said you don't have to go to your friend, the way the Ramah writes it, if it's a big deal. Now, what does it mean, tarich gadol? There is a pain going somewhere else's sukkah, but lo psikale kol kach. It's not so clear where to draw the line. Lachein tala adavar b'm yish tarich gadol b'zeh. The Ramah said, I'm going to use this idea only if it's significant. So it could be the way I explained it. Some of the cases are not really so strong. Right. It's not really so strong, the pain, psychological pain you're going through. So in such a case, you would have to go to your friend's sukkah. So it's not a carte blanche tour. And on this, the Chafetz Chaim explains further. Let's read. He makes a point if you look on the bottom, the Sharet Zion, Chafetz Chaim's footnotes on his Mishnah Berurah, he writes, you can't compare the case we're talking about to classic cases we talked till now of mitzar because of rain or mitzar because someone's sick. The Zayin Torah Bo. There is not based on him because kul mitzar b'zeh. L'chein aser levarich v'nikra hedjot kivim m'neshamayim nakuvu. If there's something which is universal, it's raining. Nobody, when it's raining, is going to sit in the sukkah. You're not feeling well. You're sick. Nobody's going to go in the sukkah when they're sick. If you would do such a thing, that's where we say you're called hedjot. I was going to say hedgehog. I was expecting you to say the other word. But, yeah, sure. Absolutely. Latin. but, in those cases where it's a universal problem, there we say, Hashem stopped you from sitting in the sukkah. You're going to go into the sukkah. That's not what Hashem wants you to do. And something which is more personal, it's more subjective. If it's something which is more personal, now look, there are many people who be in your shoes who would sit in the sukkah. So in such a case, it's an in-between level. If you want to, you could. If you want to take the exemption, you also could. It's parith. You don't have an absolute chiyuv to go to your friend's house, but the halakha is going to say, look, if it's not tzarech gadol, you should try to. But on that middle level, that's where it's something which we say, if you go to your friend's house, fine. If you could go to your friend's house, great. And you're not called a hedjot. But if you want to take up a tour, you could take up a tour. But something which is universal, there we say, no. You have to eat in your house. If you eat in the sukkah, according to the psak of the Mishnah Berurah, you're a hedjot. So it comes out from this, there are two different dinim of Mitztaer. There's what I call universal tsar, and there's subjective tsar. Universal tsar, everyone's exempt, and you can't eat in a sukkah. But something which is just subjective, there it's more pariv. There you could eat in a sukkah if you want to. But if you want to take the Torah, if it's something really bothering you, you could. Okay, it's very important to know these. This definitely comes up in many, many different situations. Now, once we put down these two ideas, so we could already start talking about some of the cases that we started off with. For me and you, now, I even wonder how you deal with this. Let's say you have a person who's allergic to bee stings. So it could be, for sure, you would say in that case, that anyone who's allergic to bee stings, that's universal, like him, it's very dangerous, and the sakana, so maybe it should be potter.
I assume if it's a suffix, like they don't know, but they didn't want to take the chance, family history.
Right. I would say, we'll see in a moment, if the bees aren't there, I don't know that you have a patur and you can just eat in the house. It should be of a clear and present danger, that type of situation. But also the fear aspect. Look, there are, you have different things. A person is he's came down with a cold. So, there it's a little harder to define universally. Okay, we have doctors here. But it's a little hard to define universal in a broad sense. Okay, at what point does everyone have to go in? So there, there's probably, people deal with things on this, it gets in more to the psychological range. It gets more personal. So again, on these type of things, that's where the second din applies. It could be this is something that you'd be exempt, but if you'd want to, you're not called a hedjot. Your whole family's there. You won't be sitting inside just because, if your family wasn't there, it was just you, maybe I'll eat inside, I'm afraid of my cold. But you have a family there, it's different. Okay. Now, I want to show, yes?
If somebody is allergic to bees, or everything says they might be, probably are, does it also apply to their guests? The Baal bus is sitting in his house because he's allergic to bees.
Very important to point out.
Or not.
Yes. The way Mitztaer works, and it's important this step to point out, it only works for the person himself who's in pain. If a person's an actual chola, who needs someone to be by his side. We're not talking about that case. That's a different story. But we're talking about someone in the family is allergic to bees, but everyone else isn't. There's no exemption for everyone else to eat inside. Absolutely not.
Concept of like rove in that case if five
No.
people are-
You can't throw any halakhic principle. No. It's no. Right?
You could probably make up a case of somebody who's Mitztaer by having a person there. But
Yeah.
Quick couple conceits.
I mean,
Yeah.
being afraid of bees
But-
is probably more of a
Yeah,
sorry than
sure.
going to your friend.
Right. They hack these types of saras. Even I want to touch all the shalom bias issues. But no, the way this works is it has to be, let's say a person's sukkah is not big enough and they can only fit men there. Oh, if it can only fit men, then we have to go inside because my wife doesn't be by herself. No such thing. Now, very, very important. The Torah only works for the person himself, not for anybody else of male, who's a male over 13. Women is a whole different story. But for men over 13, they have an obligation to eat in a sukkah. If they're going to eat things which don't require a sukkah, it's not the first night or the second night, also important to know, right? Look, there's a chumrah to have everything in a sukkah. But me'ikar adin, you're going to eat baked potato and, some other non-mizonos. Potato chips. You don't need to eat that. You don't have a chiyuv to eat that in the sukkah. So, you could have a scenario where one person can eat in the sukkah, the other person could eat other foods and be there with them. But in terms of a meal, sure in Yontif, right, even not the same chiyuv, the first day, the second day, but it's a chiyuv to eat Yontif. So, okay, yeah, that you should definitely eat in a sukkah. Now, I want to get to the bottom of the sheet. There are two fascinating shilas that I found posed to Shmuel Kamenetsky. One was, to me, I thought was a nice chiddush. You have a person who's a healthy person. Right now, everything is fine. Except, the question here is a person sleeping in a sukkah, where if he would sleep in the sukkah over the course of the yontif, or this night, let's make night by night, that's the shiloh, he's going to get sick in the future. Right now, he's okay. In the future, if he's gonna sleep in the sukkah, he knows himself he's going to get sick.
How would you know that?
when you're in
You know your body. You know where you're up to. You can tell your throat's bothering you already. Right? So look where Shmuel writes. Hamitzayer pater min sukkah v'nira sha'adam bari. A healthy person. Sha'al lahachlish. He's going to become weak, become sick. Ulatzarim yashim b'sukkah. And be pained if he sleeps in the sukkah. Pater min lishin b'sukkah. He's exempt from sleeping in the sukkah. Where Shmuel bases this on the din that we started with, ke'ein tedirim. You wouldn't live in your house in a way where you knew you're going to get sick over it. You'd figure out a scenario to make it better. Go somewhere else. He wants to base this. This is his Talmud. There's a Gemara that talks about someone who's a watchman. So his job at night is to watch a field. But he's a frummy watchman. So he wants to know, could I have a sukkah while I'm on guard duty in the northern border?
One that's bulletproof,
Right? So the answer is no. You can't have a sukkah. Because if they see your sukkah, and they're going to shoot, they're going to sleeping on the job. So the way, now honestly, I read through the Ritva. I wasn't as convinced as the author in the Raya to Shmuel's Psak from there. You can look over there too. Now he wants to learn, the pshat is, it's not because a person's afraid that bad things might happen. No, it's because I could predict bad things are going to happen. If it's just nerves, so nerves doesn't pot to you in this type of scenario. But if it's something I know, now again, Ed said very well, who said you know? Right, if you don't know, then you wouldn't have this Torah. But if you know about your body, if I'm going to be in the sukkah, I did this last year, and it was a big mistake. Okay, so you know what? Shmuel says, you're potter from sukkah. Next shayla, which is also very, very interesting. Right? I think these two psakim are psakim people don't know of. It's quite fascinating. The heading of the shayla is Harosh Niskarav Aravim. You see that the clouds are coming. I've lived in Florida for a few years. I can figure out when it's going to rain. I see the clouds, the formations, dark clouds on the horizon. He says, Im Yashav Lecho Sudaso, if you sat down to eat your Suda, Virosh is Kadru of him, you see the clouds coming. It is also for you to go back into the house. I see the black cloud right over me. Halacha is you can't go in yet. Until, and you can't go in when it starts drizzling. You have to wait when it's enough rain that will destroy your food. Avol. Okay, so that's all in terms of eating. I see the clouds. It even starts to drizzle. You still would have to go out into the sukkah.
But it's not key to do though. If it's drizzling, like you said, everything if it's dripping.
How many people have little leaks in their house? Little leaks I could handle. If it's going to spoil my food, I can't sit at the table because it's leaking that much. I got to find someone else.
You remember there's little leaks all over the roof.
Huh?
It's like leaks everywhere. It's
Where?
Like going,
Yeah,
but
dripping in from everywhere.
Exactly.
That's
So
the
that
point.
would ruin
Here is
it.
very
That's the
little.
point. You have a single
Right.
leak
They
somewhere.
say
You can,
right.
you can move it a little bit. This is the whole roof.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right, that's-
So then why wouldn't you be able to?
So the Chavetz Chaim, so Rabbi Shmuel Kamenetsky is paskening just by seeing clouds or even little drips. For that, it's not yet
Once it is.
a P'tur of Cain to Diru, but that's all. But you need for it to actually rain. Once it rains, then you're Mitztaer, Cain to Diru, and you go back in. But Avaholech Lishon b'sukkah. If you go to sleep, you're about to go to sleep in the sukkah. V'rosh Niskaravim. Right, not our guy who's afraid of his health. Just I see the dark clouds over the sukkah. And I see, look, I'm going to go to sleep now. The worst thing, I get these stories from everyone who tries to do it over here all the time. Yeah, I slept well till like 2 o'clock in the morning. I got soaking wet, right? Yeshiva guys, the worst thing a vecker could ever do to wake up a guy is pour water on the guy, right? If you try to wake up a guy by pouring water on him, boy, yeah, I'll kill you. Ali said it well.
Is that why they waited so long to fix the skylight?
Yeah.
Usually there's so much dew here that you'll be wet in the morning, even if
Yeah.
it never rains.
Yeah, good point. So if you see clouds that are dark, look what Shmuel says. Yachal lekanes the base of elation sham. You could go in right away and sleep in your house. The kivan shim yashin karva davar sheyar the gshamim v'sofel etzar machmasa. Ein chayiv lishin b'sukkasa. You don't have to sleep in the sukkah. Really, this is a further extension of what we said before. Not only is a healthy person who foresees that he's going to get sick exempt from sukkah, but a healthy person who's not going to get sick. And even if he gets rained on, he'll just be upset. But if you know it's going to happen, I see the dark clouds, halacha is in that scenario, you don't have to sleep in the sukkah. Now again, this is only for sleeping, because by sleeping, it could get me when I'm asleep. By eating, look, I'm awake. When it starts getting bad, I'll go back in. So there you don't have an exemption. But to sleep, when I'm trying to go to sleep for the next 5 hours, if you see that it's going to rain over the next 5 hours, halacha is you could go back. But one caveat on the bottom of the sheets. Amar Mari Rebbe, this is Rav Shmuel. Shekozehu dafkim rosh neskaru avim. It's only if I see the clear and present danger from a dark cloud over my sukkah. Avim shama. What's the next word?
Radio.
The radio. Ayidei sheyaros meteorology. Pshita she'eno klum. Just because the weather forecasters say it's going to rain tonight doesn't mean anything. As we all know, this I must rejoice with a little bit of glee. I remember once my Hiliga Rebbe, Rebbe Kanarik Zatzal, said, "You know who the Nevi'im Shakranim are of today? We have Nevi'im Sheker today. Who are the Nevi'im Sheker? The weathermen. The weathermen are Nevi'im Sheker. They think they know, right?
Your Rebbe was a climate denier.
Proudly,
What year was this?
right?
Nobody denies that.
I heard this over 20 years ago.
Fair enough.
Yes. It's got better, not better.
I'm saying that.
Everyone predicted the world would come to an end with hurricane. Now, don't get me wrong. Milton was not good for many people, and there were many people still without power, and that wasn't good. But the death and destruction from the worst hurricane of all time, Baruch Hashem, that didn't happen. And it works in all different ways. I checked the weather forecast on Erev Yom Kippur to see what the weather forecast was going to be here in Florida. And they had very small percentage of rain. Very small. I'm almost half hour before I went to shul, that's when I checked the weather. Very, 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 very small percentage. And guess what happened? It rained the whole day.
They're always right because they never say 0%.
Right. It was pretty close.
90%.
That just means it's going to
So,
rain for 90%.
You can't rely on a forecast. You could rely, according to Reb Shmuel, on foreseeing a cloud over you. You can't sleep. That wouldn't work for eating. But we emerge from this, hopefully much more well-educated in the concept of Mitztaer, two types of Mitztaer, different deans therefore associated with them, personal, universal, all different things, take into account. It's a Torah only for you, not for somebody else. But I think these last psukim are definitely very useful. A person who's healthy, but foresees chas v'shalom, you get sick from something, you would be allowed, at least in terms of sleeping, to preserve that. You know, if a person's gonna, you know, by eating, it's harder to say such a psak because just eat a little bit and go back into the house. You know, you could always play around with that. But Lamaisa, by learning these halachas ahead of time, hopefully it's like the guy who takes the umbrella and was stopping the rain from the whole neighborhood, because I walked around on a sunny day with an umbrella. Our learning of the halachas, hopefully none of these will come Lamaisa. For the most part, we should all have a pleasant, wonderful yontiv and kaim the mitzvah of sitting in a sukkah. You should be zoichet to sit in the sukkah in Yerushalayim, the mayor of Yameinu. Amen. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful yontiv.
Yes.